this may sound crazy, but Kawhi Leonard reminds me of Michael Jordan. And I'm not saying, I'm not comparing him to Mike, but if you watch the way he plays, his style, the way he plays the game on both ends, he can have a game that mimics Michael Jordan. He's not all the way fancy. He gets to his spots. He got nice turnarounds, big hands, palm the ball. And on the defensive end, like Cosette, he's probably the best in the game.
Listen to that. Michael Jordan analogies for Kawhi Leonard. Max, you like that comparison?
I do. I know exactly what he means, but Michael Jordan's not the guy who jumps to mind. Because Kawhi is not the kind of player who's going to give you 50 on a nightly basis. Jordan in the playoffs, you need 50, he'll give you 50 like every time. He'll do whatever he needs to do that way. Kawhi is not that kind of ball-dominant scorer, although he can be ball-dominant. And he's not the passer Pippen was. I get it. But he reminds me much more of Pippen, actually, than Jordan. The competitiveness like Jordan, sure, but the game, like he's the guy, he's the forward who you can put on the best perimeter player on the other team every night, and he'll do the best job in the world on that guy, like you couldn't do a better job, and also give you a good positive contribution on the other end. Not the passer Pippen was. I get the hands comparison to Jordan, but if forced to choose between Jordan and Pippen, who he reminds me more of, I would say Kawhi reminds me more of Pippen.
You're wrong. I would go with the Jordan comparison because I think we have to listen to the words that Kendrick Perkins stated. He talked about clearly Michael Jordan is in a class by himself. But when you look at Kawhi, Kawhi's averaging 26 this year. Kawhi is your number one offensive option. That was never really Pippen. I mean, even when Jordan was gone, Pippen sat on a bench in the famous game because Phil Jackson called Tony Kukoc's number to close out the game. Pippen's a career 16-point-per-game scorer. You clearly look at Kawhi Leonard, and that's not his intent. He's a number one option. He's a better than 25 point per game scorer. He shoots about 49% from the field. He shoots about 37% from three-point range. Pippen never did that, certainly. Defensively, Kawhi does a lot what Jordan and Pippen does. But offensively, Kawhi Leonard is far more significant than Pippen ever even tried to be. And I think that's why the comparison to Jordan is more palatable than the comparisons to Scottie Pippen.
Look, if there were three-point shot was as prevalent then as it is now, Pippen would have shot them more. But at his best, Pippen was 22 points, 21 points, 20 points, 21 points, rebounds up 7 and 8 boards a game, assists up 5 and 6 assists a game, 2-3 steals a game, like throughout his prime.
He was never the number one offensive option with the exception of Jordan being gone.
Right, and during that season, let's not forget, the Knicks got a gift in Game 7 against the
He would have taken them to the finals in my estimation.
He was the number one option on that team, and he was the second best player, in my opinion, to Hakeem that year in the NBA.
Hold on, let's fix this
We're not denigrating
analogy.
Scottie Pippen. We're just talking about what Kawhi's game reminds you more of. We're not denigrating Scottie Pippen.
So, Stephen A., let's fix this historical analogy. You're absolutely right. Kawhi's a number one option, and Scottie Pippen never was. Max,
he was actually 1 year.
Not to Kawhi's level.
He was when
not
Jordan was gone in 1 year.
Yeah, he was.
But, Max, there's parts of this. Don't worry. Don't.
If Kawhi played with Jordan, he would also not be the number one option.
The well-rounded nature of Kawhi's game reminds you of Pippen. But set aside, who is the right historical comparison for Kawhi Leonard then? Don't fit it into these two boxes. Then give me the right guy.
There's really not a perfect comparison because I understand what Perkins means, Stephen A. In certain respects, he is reminiscent of Jordan, and Kawhi's not a great passer. That's the one part of his game. Pippen was a very good passer. Kawhi's not great at that. There's not a perfect comparison to Kawhi. He's not like the kind of spectacular scorer we've seen in the past. Grant Hill's game, also more of a passer, right? And maybe even more of a rebounder. Kawhi is a unique kind of player. He is good enough to be the number one scoring option on a championship team. Had he played with Jordan, he would not have been the number one scoring option. But his defense is what makes him special, as excellent as his offense is. Like, who is he? Like a souped-up Iguodala?
And his mid-range and his mid-range game. I think if you're going to answer the question that Will presented, I think Jordan is applause. But the only thing that you never confuse with Kawhi and Jordan, I'm not saying the only thing, but when you look at Jordan and Kawhi, Kawhi has never been a skywalker. He's never had an aerial assault, the likes of which we haven't seen, dunking over 7'4" Mark Eatons of the world and people like that. That's not who Kawhi Leonard is. But if you look at his dribbling, if you look at his mid-range game, his pull-up mid-range game, the manner in which he defends, the way that he scores, the strength in finishing at the basket, et cetera, et cetera. It's not that he is Jordan by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he's more closer to that kind of a game than he was to Pippen's kind of.
Here's the problem with the comparison. We already have seen a guy who's almost exactly like Jordan. That's Kobe. If someone says, like, who was just like Jordan, it's Kobe. If you say who was just like Jordan, it's not Kawhi, even if you see Jordan in his game. I don't know the answer. Like, as I said, maybe a souped-up Iguodala type, I guess, with a better three-point shot. Let's
Jordan,
go to this. Let's go to
Pippen, Kobe even walked like Jordan, for crying out loud.
Yes.
Kawhi
Talked
is
like
very
him, dressed like
nondescript,
him.
low profile, doesn't want any kind of sizzle at all. That's not Kawhi.